Come on, camera. There we go. I was getting ready to say, how many times do I gotta adjust it for it to work? Hello, hello. How's everybody doing tonight? Hopefully, hopefully this stays, so I don't have to use my fucking cell service. Not my cell service, but I had to use my service last time to get the stream all the way through, and hopefully this time it stays. It stays. I'm gonna give it a minute for everybody to get here, and hopefully you guys will enjoy. We're gonna be discussing very controversial stuff tonight, so yeah, this should be fun. Be getting some controversy going. So let me make sure I got everything here. All right, I got that. I got that one. All right. How are we doing? Excuse me. How are we doing out there, ladies and gentlemen? How are we doing? Yeah, actually, it was supposed to start at 8:30, but hey, what's up, True Horror Fanatic and Devin? How you guys doing? Yeah, I was supposed to start earlier than this, but I got sidetracked on some other reviews and stuff like that because I want to record some videos after the stream. But how are we doing, guys? How are we doing? You guys ready to talk about some prequels, some Star Wars prequels, and piss half of the fan base off? Because I'm pretty sure my opinions on these movies is gonna piss people off. But hey, that's not the fucking goal. I mean, the fucking goal of the stream is to have fun. So let's all have fun, talk about some prequels, and just have some fun with it. Why not? Why not, man? How are you two doing this evening? Or night, or however it is when you're where you're at. It's night here, so I should say, how is your guys' night? Nice, Devin. Same year. Same year. Love Star Wars. I've actually I've actually been in a really big Star Wars mood lately. Like I've just got done watching Revenge of the Sith today. Um and I watched the old trilogy a couple of weeks ago, all the way through from episode four to episode 6. And the only movies I have to rewatch now is because I've seen Solo, and I have to see Rogue One because I haven't seen that one yet. But the only ones that I've got to see again is Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and hopefully one day I can see the Rise of Skywalker, so we can get that discussion going in the sequel trilogy. True Fanatic says 1 was bad, 2 was all right, 3 was good. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna argue with the problems. They're definitely there. That's most people's rankings of. Well, actually, most people would say the first one's bad, the second one's worse, and the third one is godly. But uh, I'm glad that you at least gave part 2 some credit, man, because it's very rare to find that. Phantom Menace is the best Star Wars movie post original trilogy. We'll get into that in a second. I really appreciate finding a fellow Phantom Menace fan out there, but we'll get into that. But that's awesome that you really enjoyed that movie. Yeah, the prequels have kind of went like this, meaning in the beginning, they got positive reviews. In the middle, the reviews went way down, way down. And then the reviews went back up for it. Like they got a resurgence, which is very rare in a franchise. And also, guys, let me know if this lags or if you can't understand me clearly or if something happens and the stream starts acting buggy, because my service will make it act more clearer. But I want to stick on the Wi-Fi for as long as possible. But this computer, for some reason, boots me off the Wi-Fi sometimes. So that's why I cut in and out sometimes. So let me know if I'm fucking barely here and I'm basically static. Just let me know. And then before we get into it, I want to read Devin's comment real quick. The sequel trilogy, the first one was average, second one was garbage, third one was shit. Wow. Yeah, the third one got a lot of mixed opinions on it. But let's get into it, guys. Let's talk about, because I want to kind of get into this really fast because I got 3 movies to talk about, and they all 3 have a lot of things to cover. And also, first of all, I want to say happy Friday to everybody out there. Hope everybody's having a wonderful night, wonderful evening. Everybody is on that grind or has been on that grind for the weekend, and we're all finally approaching the weekend. And I can't wait, man. I can't wait. But yeah, let's get into it. Now, as far as the prequels go, especially the one we're talking about first, I want to point out why these DVDs look different. Because this is a DVD that I had for Phantom Menace. That's why I see right there, see how these look different. These are the 3 DVDs I own for the first 3 episodes. Now, the reason they look different is because I found episode 2 and 3 together for $3 a piece. $6, right? So I look there for episode 1. I can't find it. I go to a bunch of pawn shops near me. Can't find it. I go to a couple of the whatever DVD stores are left, because a lot of DVD stores here and close to here have closed and are like no longer there anymore. So I basically had to track one, and I had to give in, tap out, and go to Walmart. And guess how much they're selling these DVDs for at Walmart? $20 a piece. For a movie that came out in 1999, I don't care if this is a remastered edition or not. That is ridiculous for a DVD. It's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. $20 for this plus tax ended up being $22. I walk over, look at the Blu-rays. The Blu-rays are like $24. That's insane, man. Can you imagine that profit from that? So unfortunately, I had to drop $20 from this DVD when the other 2 were $3 a piece. So I ended up dropping a decent amount for Phantom Menace, but it's okay with me because I really wanted to see it again. And I had this urge to rewatch Star Wars again because of the new movie coming out, and I didn't really want to go back and visit the other sequels to Rise of Skywalker or Force Awakens and Last Jedi. I went back and I rewatched the original trilogy, and for some reason I had this strong desire to go back and watch Star Wars the prequels, because first of all, I only seen one prequel, and that was this movie. And I wanted to get the story. I wanted to go back and see for myself if these movies are garbage. And they're not. I will argue that they're not garbage, because they have their problems, especially like this one, episode 2. But to call these movies garbage, I don't agree with. I understand what people mean, and I even have problems of my own. But to get into the first part of this stream, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, came out in 1999, and of course, everybody knows the history of this movie. When it came out, people were literally flooding the theaters to see this movie. Hell, people went to go see this movie, the shitty-ass movie with Matthew Lillard. I can't remember what it was called, but it had Matthew Lillard in it. It had a good cast to it. Shitty movie from what I've heard. They went and seen that movie only for the trailer for this movie. And then when that trailer was up, they all got up and walked out of the theater. So that's insane. That's insanity. That's insane to think about. So the hype for this movie was through the goddamn roof. And back in the day, when people first saw it, it got a very mixed opinion. People either loved it or they hated it. And then over time, it got a really big, massive majority of people hate this movie to this day. I'm sorry. I've rewatched it again. And if you want to see a better version of The Phantom Menace, I'm actually kind of glad I got this, because this is the 2011 remastering. Basically, what George Lucas did was he went back and remastered all of his movies, from the past. So he did the trilogy, the prequel trilogy. He upped all the CGI and fixed all the problems. So in this movie, instead of having that horrible puppet Yoda, it's a CGI Yoda, which looks pretty good. They upped the CGI backgrounds. They upped the CGI creatures. And they also make Queen Amidala's voice sound better, because in the original version, her voice was like really weird. In this, they fixed that. So if you want to see a better version of Phantom Menace, I recommend this. I really do. And this is the movie that got me started with Star Wars, man. This is the first one that I watched growing up. I got it on VHS, And this was what introduced me to Star Wars. Not the original trilogy, this did. This is the first one I ever seen. And I remember being a kid, being a really big fan of, Anakin Skywalker and the characters like Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Maul and the Darth Sidious, that great character who ends up being the Emperor. You find out later on. I remember finding the pod race very entertaining and the Last Jedi or the last lightsaber duel to be really good. And I haven't watched this movie in a good 15 years. It's been a long time since I've seen this. So that's how I seen the Phantom Menace for the first time. And how I seen the actual original trilogy was my aunt had a box set of these, or like this box full of VHS tapes. And back in the day, I had a VHS player. I loved VHS. It was a lot as a kid. And she had this big giant box of VHS tapes that she didn't have a VHS player for anymore. And so I watched Evil Dead from that. I watched a couple other great movies from that, like The Matrix and Men in Black, stuff like that, seen from that box. And one of the things that was in there was a nice gold-colored trilogy set, VHS set, and I watched the original trilogy that way. So in a way, I was kind of raised on the prequels and special editions. And we get to our discussion next week about the other Star Wars movies, the original trilogy. We'll talk about those fucking special editions, which we'll get to. But I went back and visited this after 15 years, and I gotta say, man, this is still one of my favorite Star Wars movies. I really enjoyed it. Does it have problems? Yeah. Is it as good as the original trilogy? No. Are any of these movies as good as the original trilogy? No. But neither is Disney movies. Like the Disney ones, I don't think are going to touch the originals. Like The Last Jedi, I had a lot of problems with. Even though I do really enjoy Force Awakens, I'll be honest, I'll put this movie and Episode 3 up there with Force Awakens. Like, I really think those three movies are on the equal platform of being great movies, of being movies that I was really entertained by, films that I got into, and films that I thought had the effects. People talk about the effects being garbage in this. I'm sorry. Maybe either A, I'm going loco, or B, this remastering really made it look a lot better. The effects in this movie are impressive and deserve praise. These effects are fucking amazing for what they are. I mean, this is 1999. This is back when, Spy Kids was being made and all that shit. You want to see bad CGI? Watch Spy Kids. This is back when CG movies were really starting to come in. And I gotta say, the effects in this movie are very impressive. I mean, the pod race scene I really enjoy. I like the lightsaber battle between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul. That scene alone is better than anything in Last Jedi. And yes, I said it, because there's nothing in Last Jedi that happens. At least in this movie, you have one of the most underrated Star Wars characters right here. You see this Star Wars character right here? He's one of my favorites. Qui-Gon Jinn. Fucking amazing character. And Liam Neeson playing this guy did a great job. You just look at him and you buy him. You buy it. It's like Vader from the original. You look at Vader, as soon as you see it, you buy it. As soon as you look at Alec Guinness, you buy it. To me, as soon as I look at that guy right there, I buy him as a Jedi Knight. Now, Kylo Ren is different, and we'll get to that in a second. But Kylo Ren, I didn't look at him and say, "Oh, that's the bad guy. That's an enemy right there. That's a force to be reckoned with." I said, "He looks like Vader. He sounds like Vader." But I'll be honest, Kylo in the first movie grew on me. I liked Kylo by the end of the movie. The movie did a good job of portraying his character. When I looked at Snoke, dude, Snoke is one of the worst bad guys in Star Wars. This fucking bad guy right here, he's on this, well, on the back. Darth Maul is way better than Snoke. And I think it's just one of the, just one of those key things from this movie that I really like. And like I said, dude, the effects need to get praised more because these effects are not that fucking bad. Yeah, there's a few scenes, and I will admit this, a couple of scenes that look like some bad CGI rendering. Like they look really horrible sometimes. Sometimes you'll get those background shots that just look fake, that you could just tell are on a set somewhere. Um, and some of the CGI creatures too, the textures on them, the way they look, you could tell it's a little shoddy. Um, I want to go with positives first. I want to go with positives. First of all, the acting. The acting is decent, but that kind of falls into two categories of positive and negative. Where I like Liam Nielsen or Neeson. I always say it wrong. I always say Liam Nielsen. It's Neeson. But Liam Neeson, I think his acting is nailed. I think he's perfect in the role. I liked Padme. I liked Darth Maul. I liked Obi-Wan. I liked Ewan McGregor playing Obi-Wan. Natalie Portman did a decent job. And Jake Lloyd is not that bad. I'm sorry. I've seen worse than Jake Lloyd. Jake Lloyd is what it is sometimes he has his moments. It's like Hayden Christensen from part 2 or episode 2. He has his moments where you're just sitting there and you go, you know, you listen to some of those lines, it doesn't really come out the greatest. This is pod racing, like that. And are you an angel? It's not his fault necessarily. If you look at it, a lot of people bullied this poor kid. This poor kid, Jake Lloyd. I mean, he just got bullied in school. He got bullied when he grew up. The fan base harassed him. And that's fucking horrible, in my opinion. That's fucking terrible. And how many reviews are out there that just bury him in his career because of this movie? That's just... I don't care if I don't like somebody's performance in the movie. I'm not going to sit here and bury somebody's performance because I didn't like it. But I've seen reviews and people fucking burying this poor dude's career because of this performance and Hayden Christensen. But yet, I see these other actors out here that are worse than these actors and nothing happens. I'm not saying I want it to happen to them. I'm saying, why is it that they're this hostile to these actors, but yet when there's other bad actors, like, is it because it's Star Wars? Like, what makes it so personal for these people, you know? But whatever. I will agree, his acting is a little rusty because he's a very... The reason why Lucas picked him was because he was a very unpredictable actor, and thus he'll give you good lines and then some lines, like yippee, like that stuff is really rough. But I thought overall, as a kid actor, he did his job. He did a good job, and I'm not gonna sit here and say he did a garbage job at all. He did a good job. And what else is there? It's a lot of great environments. This movie is a lot more massive than any of the previous movies. Like the trilogy, the prequel trilogy are massive, massive movies. Like these movies explore different worlds. You're seeing different environments, different planets. And this, you have Jar Jar's area where it's underwater and it's the kind of this underwater city, which I really like. You have the Tatooine environment, which I really enjoy. A lot of the council environments I really got into. Amidala's places on Naboo. I really enjoyed that stuff. A lot of good looking sets, in my opinion. They are CG, but they look good. And again, if you want to see a better version of Phantom Menace, get this remastered edition. It really helps, because if I was reviewing the original one, I would have been like, yeah. So I guess in the original version, you could tell it's a little bit more aged CGI. But luckily, this is why this was made, because it fixed it. So the sets look pretty nice. I think it has a good atmosphere to it. And the story, I could respect for being different. It's about trade negotiations. It is what it's about, And I'm a little... I can't say I love the story, because the story is what it is. It's about meetings and senators and politics. It's not really the greatest plot. It really isn't. But I think what helps save that aspect is the fact that we have some wonderful action sequences. And plus, the story isn't like... It's like the hate for this movie is so overblown, I feel, because they let these little things ruin the movie. And I just and it's just because I think maybe because the opinion on this movie, the overall opinion is so strong that everybody is kind of on the same page about it. But when you watch the prequels, like I did this past couple of days, I went into these movies not listening to the hate, not listening to all the bad reviews. I went into it blank minded, just to have a fun time. I went into it and started watching the movies. And I gotta say, they're fun watches. This movie keeps you engaged. I wouldn't say it's slow at all. It goes by at a good pace. And the story, of course, is these trade negotiations are going on, and um, Queen Amidala is being forced in this treaty, and they gotta help stop that from happening. And basically, they gotta protect her and stop these droids from coming in. Who behind it is Darth Sidious and his pupil Darth Maul, who I guess really, if you think about it, is the first apprentice to Darth Sidious. So very, very straightforward plot. And the thing I don't get about people saying, "Oh, well, these talking scenes are boring. These talking scenes they take up so much time. They're so slow and boring." I like the Dark Knight trilogy. I do. But I will agree, even in those movies, you have a lot of talking. Most of those movies are not Batman and Joker and Batman and Bane or Batman and Ra's al Ghul. Most of those movies are just people wandering around, investigating. Feels like some CSI, talking about investigations, talking about evidence, investigations. That's what most of Dark Knight trilogy is talking and slow moments and then getting to the action, right? What I don't understand about people's argument with these movies about having those talking scenes is that the Dark Knight trilogy still gets praised, and I'm like, or I'm assuming they're getting 8s and 9s on IMDb, while this is just getting a measly 6, and the others are getting measly 6s. They're not Shakespeare, they're not masterpieces, but to call them as bad as they are, I don't know, but Dark Knight has the same thing. A lot of talking scenes, a lot of down to earth stuff. Get to the action. Same thing here. Just you got to get to it's a part of the plot. It's what it is. Um, to get into the problems, though, there are problems. First of all, we got to mention Jar Jar. Jar Jar, I don't like his character. I don't think he's a good character at all. But to say that he's this abortion and abomination and the worst character in Star Wars, I can't say that. I don't like his character, but he feels like he's necessary for the plot somehow. And I know that sounds confusing. I know it sounds weird that I'm saying that. But Jar Jar, he's there to kind of play that C3PO role where he's just there for comic relief. Now, the problem with that is that it seems like every 5 seconds, Jar Jar is doing something to get either the leads into some trouble or him into some trouble. He's always getting into something. That became annoying. Also, some of the kid moments of the movie where they're trying to be kid friendly, where it's like, all right, some of the CGI shots don't look very good, I will admit. And the plot really isn't one of the best plots. But this is more of an aesthetic movie. This is more of a movie that I can get into for the visuals, for the battle sequences, for the action scenes, for the pacing, for the characters. I like Obi-Wan Kenobi and where he's at in this movie. I love Qui-Gon Jinn, who's one of my favorite characters. He's literally a character that nobody talks about anymore. He hasn't been mentioned in any of the sequels or any of the spinoffs. Qui-Gon has gotten forgotten. Only one movie. And I thought Liam Neeson did a great job playing Qui-Gon Jinn. Problems though, problems. There's a really random battleship fight, I guess starship fight in this movie at the end of the movie, because like it's Star Wars, got to have this big giant spaceship being blown to pieces by somebody. It wasn't really the greatest scene because Anakin just kind of flies in there, lands, and shoots the inside of it, and it blows up. So there's no build to it. It's just a scene that's there. Also, the droids have no suspense and they have no threat. And I will admit, all three of these movies are missing that levity character, that character to kind of bring you out of the seriousness for a second. And this movie suffers from that. They all three do suffer from that problem where there is no Han Solo, there is no witty character to bring you out of the serious stuff. It's just, we have to protect the senator. We have to go get this. We have to go do that. We're going to go talk to this person. It's a lot of serious dialogue that can come off as wooden, but I think it's because you don't have that levity there. And I really wish they would have done this movie. But the Phantom Menace, like I said, I love the score. I love the atmosphere of it. I love the characters, the style of it. And you got to really know this is the first movie. This is the beginning of everything. This is when it goes back. I think also what it is, episode 1 and 2 don't really feel like strong Star Wars movies. Like they're very different than Star Wars movies. They feel almost more ancient to Star Wars. And I think that's the problem with most people is that there's not all these laser battles going on and giant spaceships flying around every single scene. It's more about trade negotiations, more old school sounding dialogue, more old school looking environments. It's a prequel. It's meant to be more of a older era that is now gone in that universe. But yeah, Star Wars: The Phantom Menace Episode 1. What would you guys rate it? I would give it a solid 7. I'm a big fan of it. It's one of my favorites to watch. I really enjoy it. But what's your guys' thoughts on Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace? Again, if you hate the movie, that's fine. If you have problems with it, that's totally cool. I can totally understand that. It's a movie that is far from perfect. But I do enjoy it quite a bit. I must say, I do enjoy it. And have fun watching it. But anyways, what would you guys rate it? Out of 10. But yeah, I really enjoy Phantom Menace. And I want to get you guys' questions really quick. I'm going to read some of you guys' questions. I'll go all the way up here. Lego Star Wars 2 is a top 10 video game ever. Oh, yeah. Well, Devin says, I've always been a huge Star Wars fan. I still got my Lego Star Wars from when I was a... Dude, Lego Star Wars is amazing. Haven't seen the prequels in a long time. Probably need to rewatch the Star Wars prequels again someday. Yeah, watching them again, it was a lot of fun. I'll be honest. I had a lot of fun watching them again. True Fernandez says, I don't hate Phantom Menace, but it's not very good. Too much of the movie was on Tatooine, and Jar Jar was irritating. Yeah, I will admit it's a slower movie. Well, I can't really say it's slower. It's just maybe more down to earth. I can't explain it. This one's hard to explain. It really is. But I get what you mean. I totally get what you mean. A lot of it is on Tatooine, and Jar Jar was irritating. Original trilogy. You have no idea of the power of the dark side. I love the original trilogy too, is what Movie Guy says. The funny thing is, my favorite character in The Force Awakens with Darth Vader's mask. The Last Jedi isn't as bad as people say it is, but it is a step down from The Force Awakens. Totally agree. Yeah, that was a horrible line. When I was watching Last Jedi, there was only one thing I cared about. The ship I think it was called a Devastator, because I knew that the ship that Darth Vader's mask on, that had Darth Vader's mask on, and all I cared about was that shows you the new trilogy is just not good. Yeah. Seemed like you didn't really get invested in that movie. No reason to bully him or Jar Jar, but they are still very good parts. Still not very good parts, sorry. Yeah. I can agree. Oh my God, John gave it a 9 out of 10. That's awesome. I'm so glad. Devin gave it a 7. That's cool. Some Phantom Menace fans. Hey, what's up, Ty? How you doing? How you doing? Talking about some Star Wars prequels. They got them touching on the Phantom Menace. What was your ratings for Phantom Menace, man? What do you think about it? What's your opinions on it? Do you like it? Do you hate it? I'm open to any opinions in here, guys. I'm open to any opinions. But long time, yeah. A lot of people don't ever watch Phantom Menace again, so a lot of people haven't seen it in a while. Like I know plenty of people who haven't rewatched it in a very, very, very long time. But yeah, I give it a 7. Devin gives it a 7. John gives it a 9. Um, yeah, Phantom Menace. Pretty big fan of it. Now we get to one that I can see the problems with, and I can understand why people hate this movie. This gets to be the worst one in the trilogy. I think it's pretty good, but I can see the problems with it. And that is Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. This one is interesting. It is very interesting. First of all, I know the production was a little rocky because towards the end, things started getting pretty rushed. Show you guys, came with a booklet, some good artwork. These DVDs have great artwork and stuff too. Like Star Wars has always been known for having some good artwork. But Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, I like it. I can't say I love it, but I do like it. I did enjoy it. I seen this as a kid on TV a long time ago. Like a long time ago. It was after I already seen the original trilogy. And I caught it on TV once, and I watched 30 minutes of it and turned it off. I didn't like it at all as a kid. So revisiting it again, I was kind of like growing, like, oh my God, I got to revisit this movie again. It ain't going to be fun at all. But I like this movie. I can't say it's as good as Phantom Menace or the next one, but there are things I like about it. Of course, the story is that Padme is being hunted down by bounty hunters. Anakin has to guard her. Anakin is in love. Anakin, this is more of a teenager, played by Hayden Christensen. And Ian McGregor is more of the Jedi Master in this movie, or just a teacher of Anakin in this movie. And Obi-Wan has to figure out where these clones are coming from. You get introduced to Count Dooku in this movie. And while he's off, pretty much trying to figure out what's going on with these clones and, you know, who this bounty hunter is, Jango Fett, and trying to figure that stuff out. There's also some stuff going on in the Republic, in the Senate, stuff starting to go on in there. More about the politics as well. Basically, the three main points of this movie is the beginning of the Clone Wars and Anakin's love story with Padme, and Ian McGregor trying to figure out what the clones are, who Jango Fett is, and who. Well, he already knows who Count Dooku is. The main bad guy of this movie pretty much is Count Dooku. Count Dooku and Jango Fett are pretty much your bad guys, and of course Darth Sidious is in the background. And the story is all right. It was good for what it was. The pacing got a little slow towards the end. I just don't know how I'm going to structure this. I guess I can go into positives. First of all, again, the special effects. Couple of dated looking shots. Couple of shots that, you know, don't look the greatest. And this is the original version of this movie. But still, the special effects are there. The special effects are pretty decent. I like the fight between Count Dooku and Anakin and Obi-Wan. I like the way that it was shot. There's a couple of scenes in the movie that I really enjoy. Like the end of the movie goes into this big giant fucking war, and it's between the clones and the droids. That was done very, very well. And it looked good. I liked how Anakin is explored, but I will say Hayden Christensen's acting in this movie is a little rough. Not terrible. I'm not gonna sit here and say it was terrible. It's far from terrible, but I think it's a little rough in this movie. I think he's a lot better episode 3, but in this movie it's a little rough. And all of the romance scenes, which we'll get into that in the negative part of the video, but positives, the action scenes I still feel are very well nailed. The story was all right. The score I liked, even though I think they didn't have time to do a new score, so they just pretty much took the score from this movie. But I still like the score. Um, some good looking environments, I will say. I thought Ewan McGregor in these two movies nailed Obi-Wan. Like, you could tell he was kind of just, he seemed like a young Alec Guinness. Like, he really nails it in this movie. And of course, Anakin is just a young Jedi Padawan learner. So he's still arrogant. He's still quick to rush into situations. He's still young. He doesn't really know the Force that well in this movie. And I like how Anakin's emotions are afflicting in this movie, and how he's trying to be a well-rounded character. So that's the positive stuff. The story was pretty decent. I like the action scenes. The effects look pretty decent. Um, I like the whole idea of the Clone Wars and seeing the early versions of the clones and the stormtroopers. Well, not really they're just early clones. That was pretty cool. Jango Fett was awesome. They gave Jango Fett more to do than Boba Fett, so it was pretty cool. And I've always liked Jango Fett as a character. He's pretty cool. The problems, like I said, it can drag towards the end. This movie feels a little messy, but the story kind of goes in a lot of directions. It's like a big, massive story. What else is it? Hayden Christensen's acting sometimes I have problems with. Like, I wish I could wish all my feelings away, or when they're in the, and that's all the romance stuff is bad. I'll say that right now. All the romance stuff, them rolling around in flower fields and sitting and talking about dry sand, and I hate sand. It's rough and it gets everywhere. It's so annoying. Like that, dude. That is rough. Or their lines when they're in love between him and Padme. It's just like, oh my god. That stuff was probably the way, right? Romantic stuff. It just did not work. And I don't get it, because how do you ruin the romance part of it? Because romance is such a natural part of a movie. Like, it should be natural. Like, just two characters. You've already done it before with, Han Solo and Leia. I don't get how come in this movie it didn't work. I don't know. Maybe because, I don't know. Does Lucas know romance? I don't know. But the romance in this and the third movie are really cringy, and they're hard to fucking sit through. And they're really cringy and rough lines. So that was pretty bad. Some of the dialogue can get a little rough. And some of the dialogue can get repetitive. Like, there's a lot of scenes of Ian McGregor just bickering with Anakin and saying, you need to start focusing more, and let your emotions take over. And then a lot of the Jedi, and I do agree people on this, they make the Jedi in these movies not fun anymore, not cool. And I forgot to mention this before too. The Metachlorians. The Metachlorians are my least favorite things about this trilogy, because it ruins the mystique of the Force, but at the same time, I wouldn't hate it too much, because the Force is still there, technically. The Force is still this mystical thing. But how they explain it in the movies is the Metachlorians use the Force. The Metachlorians help the host get familiar with the Force. And in a way, I get why Lucas did it. I get why he wrote that, because it's like, well, then anybody can become a user of the Force. Anybody can use the Force, right? Well, in this one, it's more like, well, just so that the reason why they pick Jedis is because they have the midichlorians that can attract the Force to them. So, hey, Play, how's it going? How's it going, Play? Talking about Star Wars. How you doing? Hope you're having a good Friday night. So the midichlorians really aren't the Force. We're on Attack of the Clones right now, which I'm doing a kind of a little recap right now. What was your thoughts on Phantom Menace? Because we talked about Phantom Menace a little earlier in the stream. Do you like Phantom Menace? Do you not like Phantom Menace? What's your thoughts on it? But the midichlorians are more of to help the host use the Force and have the power of the Force. So the Force is still there. Yeah, Attack of the Clones. We're on Attack of the Clones. The Force is still there, and it's still mystical, but it explains it in more of a way of how do we keep it to where not everybody knows how to use the Force. But at the same time, I feel like I get where you're coming from with that, but you're still ruining the mystique. Like the more you explain it, it's the mystique is gone. The mystery and the wonder of it is gone. So I'm not a really big fan of that, the whole midichlorian stuff. Even though I don't hate it like everybody else does, I get it a little bit more, but it's still not wonderful. It's not wonderful. Um, problems. There's certain scenes that I did not get into, certain action scenes that I thought were very weak. There's a scene where Obi-Wan fights Jango Fett, and the atmosphere of the rain and stuff, you figured it'd be a cool fight, but they're acting in that scene for some reason, especially Jango Fett. Jango Fett's acting in that scene and the scenes after get rough. And then the effects in that scene just don't look good at all. And the way the scene plays out, where Ewan McGregor's, Obi-Wan gets knocked off, and then he has to use his force to make the wire wrap around so he can get saved and climb back up to the top. It was just a big old lame action scene that I didn't get into. There's also a scene in this big giant arena, and that scene I didn't even get into until the Jedi came in and started fighting everybody. It goes from 0 to 100 though, because it starts out pretty lame. I'm not into it at all. Pretty much Padme is fighting these creatures, and so is Anakin and Obi-Wan. They're all fighting these creatures. And then it gets better because the Jedi come in and help them. And then it gets even more better because the clones come in and help them out. The story is sloppier. It is a little slower. It's a little more harder to get into. Certain dialogue I didn't like. You still get those really bad PG moments. They make the Jedi in these movies kind of lame, to be honest, because when you were a kid, it was the Jedi. You were so excited to become a Jedi. In these movies, it's you can't feel love. You can't do this. You can't feel that way. You got to be part of the Senate, or not Senate, but this big giant group of Jedi. And, you can't do this. You can't feel this way. You got to have this rule. It makes it so not cool. It makes it so lame. The Jedi also don't really do anything in the first episode. And here, they don't do anything till the end of the movie. And even in the next one, they don't do much. I mean, Yoda does, and Mace Windu does, kind of. They have more things to do. They make the Jedi kind of lame in these movies. I'll be honest. That's a glaring problem too. But overall, Attack of the Clones, I think, is decent. You're starting to see more of it get in place. You're in that weird mellow middle where it's like a little bit of Star Wars in there and a little bit of the Phantom Menace stuff in there, where it's a little bit of both worlds mixed in there. And some of the dialogue I didn't get into, although I will admit, also in the positives, Yoda's scene fighting Count Dooku was pretty cool, and I loved Christopher Lee in this movie playing Count Dooku, and in part 3, Count Dooku. The Count Dooku character isn't one of my favorite characters, but I really enjoyed Christopher Lee playing the character, and I thought it was a cool performance by him, and he's a great actor. Love Christopher Lee. Did wonderful in this movie. So yeah, they give Yoda a pretty cool scene. The clones look pretty cool. So yeah, episode 2, Attack of the Clones. I'm gonna give this one a fair 6. So in a way, I agree with most of people's opinions on it. I'm gonna give it a fair 6. It's not as good as Phantom or the next one, but I'm gonna give it a 6. It's still a decent film. But if you have problems with it, if you hate any of these movies, I can see what you mean. But especially this one's considered the weakest one. It's my weakest one in this trilogy. It's decent, but it has a lot of problems. So yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on episode 2, Attack of the Clones? I gave it a 6. I think it's decent, but it has problems for sure. So it's Attack of the Clones. Gonna read some of you guys' comments. Grande gave it a 6 out of 10. That's really fair. Devin gave it a 5. That's good. Yeah, Christopher Lee is a legend. My main problem with these films is that Yoda doesn't say enough. Me not being in these prequels enough. I can't do a Yoda. Fuck that Yoda impression. It was so bad. He doesn't go enough. I can definitely agree. Kenneth Barnett. I know that actor. I can't say his name. Kenneth Barnett. That's not how you say it. Was considered to be Obi-Wan. I didn't know that. I don't have a lightsaber, but I know friends that still have their lightsabers and stuff. In 9 years, yeah, man, we're touching on them again. So the Menda Koreans. Definitely love that comment so much, man. That's such a fucking awesome comment now. The Menda Koreans. Oh shit. I know what you mean. The Metachlorians are controlled by these things called the wheels that are basically the gods of Star Wars universe. I don't know. It's really confusing. It's something George Lucas was talking about. They mentioned that in these movies? I don't remember it being about gods. I remember it being more about cellular stuff, just like these things in your blood that attract the Force to you. Basically, to put it in easier terms, from what I've gotten, they're like magnets for the Force. If without them in your body, you're not going to attract the Force, but within your body, you're going to attract the Force to you, so you can use it more. All right, let's look at this. What's your guys' favorite Star Wars character? Mine's Darth Vader. I know that's kind of everyone's favorite, but ever since I seen A New Hope, he's always been my favorite. That's very fair. To pick a good Star Wars, the favorite Star Wars character, is one of the hardest things. Oh, I'm gonna go Luke Skywalker. So the character I really like, and the trilogy is so strong, is that even though this trilogy has Ewan McGregor, and it has Liam Neeson, I don't think it's as good as the original trilogy's cast. And the same thing goes to sequels. I mean, even though we have great actors in there, it's just the original trilogy has that wonderful cast that I love everybody's performance in those. Let's go down. Christopher Lambert was also considered to be Obi-Wan. That's interesting. Play gives it a 5.9 out of 10. Almost a 6, but he's right there to a 6 almost. 5.9 is pretty cool. I'd agree it's up there with the 5 or 6. It's not very awesome, but I'd agree with you there. No, it was from like a book or something. I don't remember. I heard it in a bit. Yeah, there's so many Star Wars books out there. You might as well as not canon them. Like, look, because this is same with Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball, there's so many books out there, and extra mangas and extra side ones or movies and stuff. It's not canon. I mean, it is canon, I guess, in the books, but in the movies, I don't know how I thought gods in Star Wars. Obi-Wan Kenobi is a great character, man. Baby Yoda versus Porgs. Who was cutie? Who was cuter? I don't know. Porgs are pretty cute, and Baby Yoda's pretty cute. They're both cute. My favorite Star Wars character is Boba Fett. That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, Boba Fett's a fan favorite. All right, guys. So now we get to the end. We get to the very end of the discussion here, which was very fast because I didn't want to discuss. The original plan was discussed from episode 1 to episode 9. And I don't know about you guys, but 5 hours, I just can't do it, man. I can't do 5 hours of Star Wars. But let's get my cough drop real quick. To get into this one, Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. This is one that I seen for the very first time today, and I actually got done watching this right before the stream. And I gotta say, I must admit, this is the best film in the trilogy. Even though I love the first one, and even though I like the second one, this is definitely the best one. This is the one that feels the most Star Wars. This is how I explain this trilogy. Phantom Menace is before the formula of Star Wars. Episode 2 is a mixture of that first formula and the Star Wars formula. This one is straight up Star Wars. I mean, it opens up with a giant battle on these starships, and you have Obi-Wan and Anakin going after the Supreme Chancellor, who had been taken hostage by Count Dooku. And also, I think General Grievous is there as well, I believe so. Yeah, he's there. He's on the ship with them. And basically, when they get on the ship, they take out Count Dooku pretty fast. Anakin does. And Anakin, that's the first time we really realize, whoa, Anakin has kind of, done something that will never get turned back, where he just, the lightsabers are right here, and they just do it. Kill him, do it. And he chops his head off, and that moment of silence with no music is like, ooh. This was the first step in that path. That was the first breaking of the glass that kind of got Anakin on that horrible path that led him down the dark side. And then, of course, the Chancellor is Darth Sidious. We all knew that. Emperor Palpatine, or you could say the Emperor, however you want to say it is. There's a lot of fucking names for his character, but yeah. And they rescue him, and General Grievous gets away, and Obi-Wan goes after Grievous with the clones, and Anakin is pretty much hanging around with Palpatine a lot. And Palpatine is slowly throughout the movie turning Anakin to the dark side. And as the movie goes along, we all know what happens. Obi-Wan fights Grievous and wins with a great fight, which we'll get more into, and Anakin joins the dark side and kills Sam Jackson's character, Mace Windu. And from there on, it gets dark. Like, I seen this movie as a kid on TV, but I didn't really remember it very well. Rewatching it is pretty much like rewatching it for the first time. This is one of the darkest Star Wars movies out there. Not only is it one of the best Star Wars, it's just one of the darkest ones out there, man. I mean, the ending is not happy. It's like Empire. It doesn't end on a happy note, where the Jedi are just slaughtered and killed in cold blood. And the Emperor has taken over the Senate. I mean, he owns all the politics. They're all his puppets now. And you get this sense of, wow, like, it really adds to the other movies, because you really feel like, okay, this is what happened before. Like, we're seeing the story before the original trilogy. It really adds that weight to the Empire. And he, of course, had that great line where he's like, this is no longer a democracy, but the very first galactic empire. And of course, it becomes the birth of the Empire. And then he sends that code out, and the clones turn on all the Jedi and kill them. And it's just like whoa, the music and the scenes, the way they're done, just like, wow, very emotional. And they really hit you hard. And the movie ends with Padme giving birth and passing away during birth. Of course, it's Luke and Leia. And I got goosebumps at that ending, where it's just one of the best things in Star Wars is this right here. See this right here? This gave me goosebumps. Their dialogue, the atmosphere, the effects, the choreography of the fight itself, easily my second favorite lightsaber battle. My favorite will always be Luke versus Vader in Return of the Jedi. This is my second favorite, and then my third favorite probably Luke versus Vader in Empire. Those three fights, the emotion that's there, the choreography, the way that's done, solid fight. And classic line, Give up, I have the high ground. And then Anakin says, you underestimate my power. Don't try it. Jump, slice. Anakin gets his legs and arm cut off, and I hate you. You were my brother, Anakin. I loved you. You were supposed to bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness. Like, that dialogue and that scene is just so quotable and memorable. It's just one of the best Star Wars scenes. And the scene where you see Leia get taken to the rebellion, pretty much the early rebellion before the rebellion was even formed, and Luke is taken to, of course, Tatooine, which is so that they can't get sensed by the dark side, also the Empire, and they get taken to locations, and that's where they're at. And that just gave me goosebumps because, like, it just ties it together. Like, as much as these prequels get hate, this is without doubt, as far as prequels go, some of the best prequels out there, because I feel like they're very effective at tying everything together. Like, they don't make them more futuristic than the old movies. They keep it the same. I mean, you have holograms and stuff, but that was in the first movies. You have different spaceships, but you also had spaceships in the original. So it's not like it's taken, a giant leap forward as far as prequels go. So it's keeping it basic, keeping it within that realistic grounds. It ties the story together. There are certain things that, because of Revenge of the Sith, make Luke's scene in Return of the Jedi so powerful, because in Revenge of the Sith, Palpatine told Anakin to kill his older pupil. I almost said Mace Windu. Count Dooku. They sound similar. Count Dooku is his old pupil. So Anakin made the mistake of killing him and going to the dark side. So in Return of the Jedi, when Luke is asked to kill Darth Vader, it's like, whoa, that adds so much depth to that scene, because no, I'm a Jedi like my father before me. He's the one who said no to the dark side. He's the one who refused to kill the pupil and become the next one. He's the one that stopped the cycle. This movie made Luke's arc even more fucking amazing. So I really do have to praise the movie for that. And you feel bad for Anakin. You really do, because he starts out the movie, he's all right, he's calm, he's respectful. And they also make the Jedi kind of, you notice that they didn't have a lot of confidence in Anakin. And Palpatine told him that. He's like, well, they're not going to trust you. They don't respect you like I do. And they're going to leave you behind the mission. And what do? They don't take him along for anything. He has to stay back, stay back, stay back. And of course, he gets pissed and says, fuck this. And then he goes into the killing spree. So they don't make it just a basic bad guy, good guy story. You're seeing the faults in the good and the bad, and it's like, it makes it a very compelling story. And it is the best one because it feels very Star Wars. The formula is very Star Wars. The action scenes I thought were so well done in this movie. They look good. The effects look even better than episode 2. The fucking music is amazing. The visuals are great. I think it's one of the best Star Wars movies out there. I think it's one of those movies up there with The Force Awakens, where it's almost as well. I would put it above Force Awakens. I'll be honest. It would go original trilogy, then this, then I would try to go to Force Awakens and stuff like that. But this is one of the best Star Wars movies, man. It is great. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, surprisingly. 8 out of 10 for me. I know it's surprising because it's still a prequel, but I'm going to give a solid 8 out of 10. I think it's a fantastic film that caps off the prequel trilogy and also kickstarts the next trilogy. And you have Yoda still being a badass, still getting his scenes. You have some good star fights, between the scene where Anakin, and also I like Anakin and Obi-Wan's reactions in this movie, their interactions. Because in the last movie, in Attack of the Clones, they spent most of this movie bickering and hating each other and not working together as a team. Hayden Christensen saying, I don't like Obi-Wan. He doesn't get me. It's not fair. And there's a lot of that stuff going on, and Obi-Wan constantly saying, "Don't be too rash. Don't rush into things. Don't let their emotions get to you. Don't let this happen. Don't let that happen." But in this movie, they're having fun. They're actually a team, and they function well as a team, and they're working together, and their dialogue is great. You know, so they work great as a team, and you buy that they're friends. So when it does happen, that this fight happens right here, and it makes it very emotional. It's very well done. But yeah, dude, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, capping off the prequel trilogy, I think is wonderful. Easily one of the best ones. I'm giving a solid 8. What would you guys rate it? I love Revenge of the Sith a lot. Great, great movie. So I'm going to read you guys' comments real quick, and then we'll have our final closing sayings on the Star Wars prequels. That was a lot of fun to do. We're going to keep going because we already read these. Yeah, Obi-Wan is great. Okay, look up The Wheels Star Wars when you're done in the stream. It explains it better from George Lucas. I was thinking of since the original trilogy. Okay. All right, I will. I totally will. Kong versus the monster from the mist. Well, I don't know. I'm going to say maybe Kong. Because even though that was a big alien, I don't know. That was a huge alien. I'm going to say probably the alien or the monster from that movie. What is your favorite character design from Star Wars? It could be any design. For me, it's Luke design from the Return of the Jedi. That's a great look. I've always been a big fan of Grievous's design. The droid / living stuff on him and the 4 lightsabers. I've always loved that design, Grievous. So Grievous is one of my favorite characters. I remember that scene when Palpatine said, "Do it," and Anakin chopped off Count Dooku's head in that scene where Samuel Jackson's character got killed. Yeah, those are some dark scenes right there. Dark scenes. Execute Order 77, the order to wipe out all fans of the new trilogy. Holy shit, Devin, that got dark. Oh yeah, the lightsaber battle in that is great. Even though we know Obi-Wan Kenobi will win because these are yeah, he had to win, but it was still the emotion there. You were my brother, Deji. You were supposed to bring down something. Devin, you funny, man. You funny. What is my personal favorite Star Wars movie? I have always loved Return of the Jedi, ever since I was a kid. And I still think Return of the Jedi holds up. I love Return of the Jedi. That's my personal favorite. Oh, God, Fleshy Hole. Hey, that is my thing. I will have that trademarked. So Grande gave it an 8. Solid. Awesome. Movie guy gave it an 8.5. Wow, he really loves it. Devin gave it a 9. Wow. Play gave it a 6.9 out of 10. Wow, same as episode 2. Oh, 7.9. My bad. 7.9, almost an 8. Wow. See, we all can agree on at least the third one being a pretty good one. Yeah, I mean, I think the third one is just amazing, man. Really, really enjoy it. Yeah, to cap off these movies, I must say that I don't hate them. I don't. And as you could tell, I don't hate any of them, actually. Phantom Menace is one of my favorite movies in the series. Episode 2 was all right. Episode 3 is one of the best ones. Yeah, it was a lot of fun revisiting these movies again. I was basically going down memory lane once again in my life, and it was a lot of fun revisiting this prequel trilogy and storyline. Overall, they're decent movies. Are they as good as the original trilogy? No. I wouldn't say they are. They're not, because the original trilogy, they're all 3 10 out of 10s from me. Spoiler alert. They're all 3 10 out of 10 films that I think are perfect films. And I hate to burst everybody's bubble, but we're never going to get that movie again. Those trilogy. We're never. I don't care how much they try, because we've seen both ends of the spectrum. This is completely different in original, and the sequels are playing it safe and are taking stuff from Return of the Jedi Empire. So we've seen both ends of the spectrum. So whether it's original and different or playing it safe, there's still problems there, you know. And I don't think there's ever going to be that perfect trilogy again. So, but I think what we can do is just have fun with Star Wars. Always have fun with it. Always go into it with an open mind. And remember to always form your own opinion. It doesn't matter there's 80 million people out there that say this is a bad movie or whatnot. Just form your own opinion before you start hating on something. That's all I ask. You know, every movie that I've not liked, I've at least watched and, you know, formed my own opinion on it. And some of them are good movies that have been said to be good movies by most people. But I think another important thing is that we got to be able to form our own opinion, you know. Um, I also want to bring up a really interesting point in terms of Revenge of the Sith that nobody brings up. If you guys remember correctly, at the end of episode 3, Yoda talks to Obi-Wan and says, I want to teach you something that you can learn to train with on Tatooine. And Obi-Wan's like, what? Teach me something? He's like, I want to teach you how to talk with fallen Jedi. And your Jedi master wants to talk to you. And he goes, Qui-Gon? And then the movie ends. Well, it ends with the funeral of Padme, and the movie ends with that. And they also have a great that shot at the end of the movie of Revenge of the Sith, where it's the baby Luke and the aunt and the uncle and the son and the same music from Episode 4. That gave me chills as well. But I've always wondered, like, ooh, what does that mean? You have training to do on Tatooine about talking to Qui-Gon. And I know that Obi-Wan Kenobi show's coming out soon called Kenobi, a Star Wars story or whatever it should be called. It's a Kenobi show. I wonder if they're going to touch on that in that show. That's interesting to think about. But yeah, the prequels are not gold. They're not flawless. Well, one of them's actually really solid, but they're not solid. Like, they're not as good as the original trilogy, but they're very, very well done, in my opinion. They're entertaining film. They kept me engaged. I enjoyed the story of it. Really got into it, and it was a lot of fun revisiting these movies again. But yeah, anyways, guys, I'm going to read some comments real quick to close the stream out. So I'm going to read what you guys have to say. If you guys have any goodbyes, you want to say, I'll read it. To me, the only thing that matches up to any of the original trilogy is The Mandalorian. Yeah, I got to see it because everybody's saying it's really good. The horror community will be with you always. The horror community is strong with this one. Some people might hate these films, but hey, if they entertain or not, that's all I really care about. I'm the same way, movie guy. I'm the same way. If it gets hate, it's whatever. If it entertains me, that's totally fine. I don't hate. Look, I'm an easy guy to please. If they entertain me, then I'm hooked. King Kong versus God. Since you're rooting for Kong like me for Godzilla versus Kong, what do you think is a good way to Kong defeat Godzilla? Rip his head off. No, I'm just joking. No, just however way he beats him. Maybe like a gorilla press or gorilla punches. That stuff. If they're entertaining. Yeah. But anyways, guys, it's been fun. I've always wanted to talk about these movies again, about the prequels, and I've seen them all. I really enjoyed them. They have problems, lots of problems, but it was fun, man. It was fun. And I want to thank you all so much for being a part of the stream. It's been awesome. Thank you guys for everything. And it's been fun. And I'll see you guys next week for my review on the original trilogy. So that should be really fun. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching my review or my video or my stream or whatever on the original trilogy or the prequels, if I can say it. There's so many goddamn trilogies out there. The prequel trilogy. Thank you so much for watching my video on it, the stream. Hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you guys later. See you, movie guy. See you, play. I'll see you guys later. Bye. May the force be with all of you, and have a good Friday night. May the force be with you.